story. The steady beep of heart monitors echoed through Memorial Hospital's emergency room as Clayton Berger adjusted and drip for his elderly patient. His movements were precise, despite this being his 16th hour on duty. A young resident nearby fumbled with supplies, dropping packages of gauze on the floor. "Here, Dr. Chun. Let me help you with that," Clayton said, his voice carrying the warmth that had earned him the respect of countless medical staff over his 15 years as an ER nurse. "Thanks, Mr. Berger," Dr. Chin replied, clearly flustered. "I don't know how you do it. 2 shifts back to back, and you're still so composed." Clayton managed a tired smile. "You learn to push through it. And please call me Clayton." He glanced at his watch, 10:45 p.m. Another hour and 15 minutes to go. The emergency room doors burst open as paramedics wheeled in a teenage boy with a skateboarding injury. Clayton's expertise kicked in automatically, pushing aside the bone-deep exhaustion that had been threatening to overwhelm him. "What do we have?" he asked, falling into step beside the gurney. 14-year-old male, compound fracture of the right radius and ulna, the paramedic reported. BP 110/70, pulse 92. As Clayton helped transfer the boy to an examination bed, he couldn't help but think of his own son, Tommy. When was the last time he'd watched Tommy skateboard? Had he even noticed if Tommy still enjoyed skating? The boy's mother arrived moments later, panic etched across her face. Clayton placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He's going to be fine, ma'am. Dr. Roberts is our best orthopedic resident." "Nurse Berger." Tanya Doyle's voice cut through his thoughts. The nurse practitioner was waving from the nurse's station, her expression urgent. "We need you in Bay 3. Mr. Rodriguez is experiencing chest pain again." Clayton nodded, already moving. This was his life. Constantly in motion, always needed, perpetually giving pieces of himself to others while his own life slipped away in fragments. During a rare quiet moment, Clayton found himself in the break room, staring at his phone. 3 missed calls from Marina. A text from Katie that read simply, "Whatever." He couldn't remember the last time his 17-year-old daughter had sent him more than one-word responses. "You should go home, Clayton," Nurse Jenny Bradford said, entering the break room with a stack of charts. "You've been here since 6 this morning." "Just finishing up some paperwork," he replied, though they both knew he'd stay until every patient from his shift was properly handed over. Jenny poured herself a cup of coffee, studying him with concerned eyes. "Marina called the front desk earlier. Seemed upset you weren't answering your phone." Clayton rubbed his tired eyes. "We were coding that MVA victim in Trauma 1. I couldn't exactly step out to take a personal call. She mentioned something about missing dinner again." Jenny ventured carefully. "4th time this month?" "5th, Clayton corrected, his voice heavy with resignation. "But these extra shifts, the overtime helps with Katie's college fund, Marina's new car payments, Tommy's summer camp fees." The doors swung open, and Molly Small, one of the new nurses, poked her head in. "Mr. Berger? Sorry to interrupt, but we've got incoming trauma. Multi-vehicle collision on Highway 16. They're saying at least 4 critical." Clayton was on his feet before she finished speaking, his personal concerns once again pushed aside. As he rushed toward the ambulance bay, he caught his reflection in a window, at 42. The lines around his eyes had deepened, and threads of gray had begun to appear at his temples. When had that happened? The trauma team assembled with practiced efficiency. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the attending physician, barked orders as they prepared for incoming casualties. Clayton moved with purpose, checking supplies, preparing 4 lines, his hands steady despite his exhaustion. "First victim, 2 minutes out," someone called. Clayton pulled on a fresh pair of gloves, his mind already focused on the task ahead. This was where he felt most useful, most alive. In the controlled chaos of the emergency room, where his experience and calm demeanor could mean the difference between life and death. "You okay to handle this?" Dr. Martinez asked quietly, noticing the slight droop in his shoulders. "You've been here all day." "I'm fine," Clayton assured her, though his feet ached and his back screamed for rest. "This is what I do." The first ambulance arrived, and Clayton's world narrowed to the immediate needs of the patient before him. A young woman, maybe 25, with multiple fractures and possible internal bleeding. As he helped transfer her to a trauma bed, he caught fragments of the paramedics' report. Head-on collision, driver of the other vehicle ran a red light. Possible alcohol involvement. For the next 3 hours, Clayton moved between patients, starting IVs, administering medications, monitoring vital signs, and providing updates to worried family members. Each task was performed with precision, each interaction marked by his characteristic compassion, even as fatigue turned his movements mechanical. It wasn't until the last patient was stabilized that Clayton allowed himself to check his phone again. 2 more missed calls from Marina, and a text that made his heart sink. "Don't bother coming home tonight. We both know the hospital needs you more than we do." He stared at the message, trying to formulate a response that would bridge the growing chasm between them. But what could he say? That he was sorry? That the overtime wasn't really optional anymore? Not with their mounting expenses? That he missed them too? "Mr. Berger," Tanya called out again, her voice gentler this time. "We've got one more incoming trauma, but I can ask Stevens to take it if you need to." "No," Clayton interrupted, pocketing his phone. "I'm already here. Might as well see it through." As he walked back to the trauma bay, Clayton pushed thoughts of home aside. This was what he did best, being there for others when they needed him most. The irony of that reality wasn't lost on him, but at least here, in the controlled chaos of the emergency room, he knew his role. Here, he could make a difference, even if it meant becoming invisible in his own life. Marina Boyer's manicured fingers tapped against the leather steering wheel of her Mercedes S-Class, a car that had raised eyebrows among their neighbors when she brought it home 3 months ago. The smooth purr of the engine couldn't quite mask the tension in the vehicle as she navigated through the city's winding streets toward the Harbor District. "Mom, can we stop for coffee?" Katie asked from the passenger seat, barely looking up from her phone. "I told Melody I'd bring her a caramel macchiato." Marina checked her watch, a recent Cartier that she'd explained away as a fantastic sample sale find when Clayton had noticed it. "We're already running late, sweetheart. Chris doesn't like to be kept waiting." In the back seat, Tommy shifted uncomfortably, his 14-year-old frame hunched as if trying to disappear into the leather upholstery. "Maybe we should go home," he suggested quietly. "Dad might finish his shift early today." "Your father hasn't finished a Sunday shift early in 3 years, Marina replied, her tone clipped. "He's probably picking up extra hours again. Always another patient, another emergency, another reason to stay away from his family." Katie rolled her eyes, finally looking up from her phone. "Tommy, seriously, stop with the guilt trip. Dad chose this life. He could have gone into private practice or pharmaceutical sales like Mr. Rivers suggested, but no. He had to stay at that overcrowded hospital because it's his calling or whatever. At least he helps people," Tommy muttered. Marina's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Chris helps people too, Tommy. He creates jobs, builds communities. And unlike your father, he actually makes time for his family." The Mercedes turned into an exclusive neighborhood where every house seemed to compete for attention with elaborate architectural features and meticulously maintained landscapes. Tommy watched as the houses grew larger, more ornate, until finally, they pulled up to the Rivers mansion. Chris Rivers stood waiting at the top of the curved driveway, his tall frame casual yet commanding in designer weekend wear. His children from his first marriage, 16-year-old Melody and 12-year-old Spencer, bounded down the steps as Marina parked the car. "There's my beautiful family," Chris called out, his smile wide and practiced. He helped Marina out of the car with a familiarity that made Tommy's stomach turn. "Missed you guys this week," Melody said, hugging Katie with genuine affection. The 2 girls had become inseparable over the past few years, sharing clothes, secrets, and a mutual disdain for anything they deemed beneath their status. Spencer approached Tommy with a new gaming controller. "Dad got us the latest PlayStation. Want to try it out?" Before Tommy could respond, Marina's hand gripped his shoulder. Her voice was low, meant only for him. "Your father chose his path, Tommy. He's more married to that hospital than he ever was to me. This is our chance at happiness. Don't ruin it." "But it's wrong," Tommy whispered back. "Dad deserves to know." "Know what?" Katie interrupted, her voice sharp. "That Mr. Rivers actually has time for us? That he remembers our birthdays and shows up for school events? That he can afford to give us the life we deserve? Katie, Marina warned, but her daughter was on a roll. Seriously, Tommy, get over it. Have you seen the new yacht Mr. Rivers bought? Did Dad ever take us sailing? Does Dad even know how to sail? Chris smoothly intervened, placing a paternal hand on Tommy's other shoulder. Hey, sport, why don't we all head inside? The chef prepared your favorite pasta, and I've got some exciting news about the summer house in the Hamptons. As they walked toward the house, Tommy couldn't help but notice how naturally everyone fell into their roles. Marina linking her arm through Chris's, Katie and Melody chattering about their plans to redecorate their shared room in the summer house. Spencer already explaining the features of his new gaming system. They looked like a perfect family, and maybe they were. But Tommy couldn't shake the image of his father, alone in the emergency room, working another double shift, unaware that his family had created a whole new life without him. Inside the mansion, the scene grew more surreal. The dining room table was set with fine china and crystal glasses, fresh flowers arranged in elegant vases. The private chef, Marcus, was placing the final touches on what looked like a feast. I hope everyone's hungry, Chris announced, pulling out Marina's chair with practiced charm. Marcus has outdone himself today. Everything looks amazing, Marina gushed, settling into her seat with the ease of someone who belonged there. Doesn't it, Tommy? Tommy stared at his plate, remembering the countless dinners his father had missed, the meals that had grown cold waiting for him to come home. I'm not very hungry. Don't be rude, Katie hissed across the table. Mr. Rivers went to all this trouble. It's no trouble at all, Chris assured them, his voice smooth as expensive whiskey. Nothing's too good for my family. The word family made Tommy's fork clatter against his plate. Marina shot him a warning look, but he couldn't help himself. We already have a family, he said quietly. The table fell silent. Even Katie stopped mid-bite, her expression a mix of anger and embarrassment. Chris leaned forward, his charm never wavering. Tommy, I understand this is difficult for you. Change always is. But your mother and I, we want what's best for all of you. Your father, well, he's made his choices. He didn't choose this, Tommy protested. He doesn't even know about this. Tommy, Marina's voice carried a note of finality. Enough. Eat your lunch. The conversation shifted to safer topics. Melody's upcoming dance recital, Spencer's soccer tournament, the new yacht club membership. Tommy pushed his food around his plate, feeling more like an outsider with each passing minute. After lunch, while the others moved to the entertainment room, Tommy found himself alone in the vast kitchen. Marcus was cleaning up, humming quietly to himself. Is it hard? Tommy asked suddenly, causing the chef to look up. Keeping secrets? Marcus paused in his work, studying the young boy thoughtfully. Sometimes doing the right thing means making difficult choices, he said finally. But secrets have a way of coming out eventually, even if coming out hurts people. Especially then, Marcus replied, his voice gentle, because keeping them usually hurts more in the end. Before Tommy could respond, Marina appeared in the doorway. There you are. Everyone's waiting to watch the new movie Chris bought. Come join us. Tommy followed his mother, but his mind was already forming a plan. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe it was time for the truth to come out, no matter the consequences. He just had to figure out how to tell his father without destroying what was left of their family. The hospital break room buzzed with the quiet energy of the night shift changing over to morning staff. Nurse practitioner Jenny Bradford sat at the small table, her hands wrapped around a cooling cup of coffee as she spoke in hushed tones to Molly Small, who had just completed her first month at Memorial. You're settling in well, Jenny observed, noting the confidence in the younger nurse's movements as she prepared her own coffee. Getting used to the pace? Molly nodded, taking the seat across from Jenny. It's intense, but I love it. Everyone's been so helpful, especially Mr. Berger. He's got this way of making even the most chaotic situations feel manageable. Clayton's one of the good ones, Jenny agreed, her voice dropping even lower. Which is why what I heard at the Harbor District Charity Gala last weekend has been eating at me. Molly leaned forward, her interest piqued. The Harbor District? My sister lives there. All those massive houses and perfectly manicured lives. Perfect on the surface, maybe. Jenny stirred her coffee absently. But you know how these wealthy communities are. Everyone knows everyone's business, even if they pretend not to. Like that developer, Chris Rivers? Apparently, he's been seeing this married woman for years. Has 2 more kids with her that nobody talks about, except his first 2 children. The break room door swung open, and Clayton walked in, his scrubs showing signs of a particularly difficult shift. Both nurses fell silent, watching as he made his way to the coffee maker. "Ladies," he acknowledged with a tired smile. "Anything left in that pot?" "Fresh brew," Jenny offered, her voice artificially bright. "You look like you could use it." "Rough night?" Clayton poured himself a cup, his movements automatic after so many years. "Multiple traumas from a pileup on the interstate. Lost 2 patients." He paused, staring into his coffee. "Days like this, I wonder if I'm making any difference at all." Molly felt her stomach twist into knots. Just last weekend, she'd been visiting her sister when she'd seen Marina Boyer's distinctive Mercedes parked outside the Rivers mansion. She'd thought nothing of it at the time. Plenty of people had business with the prominent developer. But now, connecting the dots from Jenny's gossip, "You make a huge difference," Jenny assured Clayton. "To your patients, to their families, to all of us here." Clayton managed a weak smile. "Thanks. I should get back. Got another 4 hours to go." He left the break room, his shoulders slightly hunched under the weight of exhaustion and loss. Once he was gone, Molly turned to Jenny, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I know who Rivers' married woman is." Jenny's eyes widened. "You do? I've seen her at his house. Multiple times." Molly hesitated, glancing at the door. "It's Marina Boyer." Jenny's coffee cup clattered against the table. "Clayton's wife? Are you sure?" "The Mercedes she drives. It's pretty distinctive. And last weekend, I saw her with 2 teenagers. They were all going into Rivers' house like they belonged there." "Oh God," Jenny breathed. "Clayton has no idea. He works so hard for his family, picks up every extra shift he can, and meanwhile..." Jenny trailed off, her expression troubled. "Should we tell him?" Molly asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jenny ran her fingers through her graying hair. "I don't know. How do you tell someone their whole life is a lie? Especially someone like Clayton, who gives everything to everyone else." The break room door opened again, this time admitting Tanya Doyle. The nurse practitioner's usually composed face showed signs of strain. "Have either of you seen Clayton? We've got a situation in the ER." "He just left," Jenny replied. "What's wrong?" Tanya sighed heavily. "His wife called again. She's demanding to speak with him immediately, says it's an emergency. But we've got 3 critical patients coming in from a house fire, and he's our most experienced trauma nurse on duty." Molly and Jenny exchanged meaningful looks. "I'll find him," Molly offered, standing up. Maybe the emergency isn't as urgent as Mrs. Boyer thinks." As Molly left the break room, she heard Jenny talking quietly to Tanya. "Have you noticed anything different about Marina Boyer lately? Like, maybe when she comes to the hospital fundraisers?" Molly found Clayton in the supply room, methodically restocking trauma carts. The fluorescent lights emphasized the exhaustion etched on his face. "Mr. Berger," she called softly. "Your wife called. Says it's an emergency." Clayton's hands stilled on the supplies. "Did she say what kind of emergency?" "No, just that she needs to speak with you right away." He checked his watch, mental calculations playing across his face. "We've got incoming traumas. Tell her." He paused, conflict evident in his expression. "Tell her I'll call as soon as I can." "Mr. Berger," Molly started, then stopped. The weight of what she knew pressed against her conscience. Is everything okay? At home, I mean?" Clayton managed a tired smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Everything's fine, Molly. Just typical family stuff. When you work the hours we do, sometimes it's hard for family to understand." The trauma alert sounded before Molly could respond. Clayton was already moving, his personal concerns once again pushed aside in favor of his patient's needs. She watched him go, the knowledge of his wife's betrayal sitting like lead in her stomach. Back in the break room, Jenny was still talking with Tanya. The thing about Harbor District, Jenny was explaining, is that nothing stays secret forever. Especially not when it involves someone like Chris Rivers. Did you know his first wife died under strange circumstances? Jenny, Tanya warned, glancing meaningfully at the door. This isn't the place. But Jenny pressed on, her voice dropping to a whisper. I'm just saying, maybe someone should warn Clayton. Before things get too complicated. Molly, returning to her station, felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She'd seen the way Marina Boyer looked at Chris Rivers during her sister's neighborhood barbecue, like a woman who had already decided her future, regardless of who got hurt along the way. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of patients and procedures. Clayton worked tirelessly, his focus never wavering despite the personal drama unfolding without his knowledge. Molly watched him with growing admiration and guilt, wondering if keeping quiet was really the kindest choice. As the morning shift prepared to leave, Clayton finally checked his phone. His face fell slightly as he read whatever message awaited him. Everything okay? Molly couldn't help asking. Clayton pocketed his phone with a resigned expression. Marina's upset I missed another family dinner. She doesn't understand that we had 3 critical patients last night. Mr. Berger, Molly began, gathering her courage. Sometimes things aren't. Sometimes people aren't. Spit it out, Molly, he said kindly. You look like you're about to burst. But looking at his tired, honest face, Molly couldn't do it. Not here, not now, not like this. Just take care of yourself, okay? You spend so much time taking care of everyone else. Clayton nodded, clearly not understanding the weight behind her words. You too, Molly. See you tomorrow night. As he walked away, Molly caught Jenny's eye across the nurse's station. Jenny shook her head slightly, a silent acknowledgement that they were both keeping a secret that would eventually shatter their colleague's world. The morning sun was rising over Memorial Hospital as Clayton headed to his car, unaware of the whispered conversations and worried glances that followed him. He was focused on getting home, maybe spending some time with his kids before sleep claimed him. He didn't notice Molly watching from the hospital entrance, her face troubled with the knowledge of what awaited him in the Harbor District. Some truths were too heavy to bear alone, but the weight of revealing them seemed even heavier. For now, the whispers would remain just that, whispers in break rooms and worried glances in hallways, while Clayton Berger continued his daily routine, invisible to the very people who should have seen him most clearly. The power outage at Memorial Hospital had been unexpected, forcing Clayton to return home early for the first time in months. The emergency generators had kicked in immediately, but with all non-critical procedures suspended, the administration had sent home any staff not absolutely essential for patient care. Clayton's footsteps echoed through the unusually quiet house as he entered through the side door, planning to surprise his family. The familiar scent of Marina's jasmine perfume lingered in the air, but the house felt empty. He was about to call out when he heard voices from the kitchen. I still can't believe how clueless Dad is. Katie's voice carried through the hallway, dripping with disdain. Every Sunday, like clockwork, he takes those extra shifts, and he has no idea about Mom's second family. Clayton froze, his hands still on the doorknob. Through the gap in the kitchen door, he could see Katie perched on the counter, her boyfriend Rich Owen leaning against the refrigerator. What do you mean, second family? Rich asked, his brow furrowed. Katie let out a laugh that made Clayton's blood run cold. Mom takes us to visit our half-siblings every Sunday while Dad's busy working double shifts. Our original family, the one that actually matters. You should see where they live, Rich. It's like something out of a magazine. But your dad works those shifts for you guys, doesn't he? Rich shifted uncomfortably. To pay for college and stuff? Oh please, Katie rolled her eyes. Mr. Rivers could pay for my entire college education with what he spends on yacht maintenance. That amazing boat Dad could never afford even if he worked double shifts for the rest of his life? We went sailing on it last weekend. Clayton's fingers tightened around the doorknob until his knuckles turned white. Rivers. The name triggered a memory, whispered conversations in the hospital break room, rumors about a developer and a married woman. Mom's lover is a total upgrade, Katie continued, each word driving daggers into Clayton's heart. I'm just counting down the days until she finally divorces Dad so we can all live together with real money. This family? Total dead weight. Rich pushed away from the refrigerator, his face troubled. That's pretty cold, Katie. Your dad works those shifts to give you a good life. A good life? Katie's voice rose in pitch. We live in a 3-bedroom house while my other siblings have a mansion with an ocean view. Dad's such a loser, he can't even see what's right in front of him. Your dad's not a loser, Rich protested. He saves lives. That matters more than fancy houses and boats. Save the moral high ground, Rich. You haven't seen how Mr. Rivers treats us. He remembers our birthdays, shows up to school events, actually pays attention to what we want and need. When's the last time Dad even asked me about my day? Clayton backed away from the door, his world tilting sideways. Everything suddenly clicked into place. Marina's new Mercedes she claimed was a lucky investment. Her distant behavior, the family's Sunday church activities he could never attend due to his schedule. The new jewelry, the designer clothes, the way Katie had stopped asking him for anything, treating him with barely concealed contempt. But what about your brother? Rich's voice followed Clayton down the hallway. Tommy seems pretty attached to your dad. Tommy's being stupid about the whole thing, Katie dismissed. He keeps saying it's wrong, that we're betraying Dad. As if Dad hasn't been betraying us for years by choosing the hospital over his family. Clayton made it to his car before his legs gave out. He sat behind the wheel, staring at the house he'd worked so hard to provide, remembering all the Sunday dinners he'd missed, all the school events he'd skipped for extra shifts. He'd thought he was doing the right thing, giving his family financial security. Instead, he'd given his wife the perfect opportunity to build a new life without him. The sound of Rich's motorcycle starting up snapped Clayton from his daze. He watched through the rearview mirror as Katie walked her boyfriend to his bike, their goodbye kiss lasting longer than appropriate. Once they were gone, Clayton drove away, his mind racing with questions he wasn't sure he wanted answered. He ended up in the hospital parking lot, muscle memory taking him to the one place he felt in control. His phone buzzed with a text from Marina. Working late again? The casual deception in those 3 words made his stomach turn. For hours, Clayton sat in his car, replaying years of memories through the lens of his new knowledge. The Sunday church activities that had started 2 years ago. The way Marina had stopped complaining about his extra shifts, almost encouraging them. Katie's sudden interest in sailing lessons last summer. Tommy's increasing withdrawal and troubled expressions. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Tommy. Dad, are you okay? You weren't at dinner. Clayton stared at the message, wondering how many dinners his son had endured, carrying the weight of this secret. He started typing several responses before settling on. Just needed some extra time to think. Buddy, I'll see you tomorrow. The truth sat heavy in his chest. His family hadn't just grown distant. They'd created an entire life without him. While he'd been saving other people's lives, his own life had been slowly disappearing, replaced by a carefully constructed lie. As night fell, Clayton finally went home, parking his car quietly in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, he could see Marina washing dishes, phone cradled between her ear and shoulder, laughing at something the person on the other end had said. He wondered if it was Rivers, if she was making plans for their next Sunday family gathering. The invisible man had finally seen the truth, and now he had to decide what to do with it. The week following Clayton's discovery passed in a blur of careful observation and quiet investigation. He maintained his usual routine at the hospital, but his eyes had been opened to the whispered conversations that stopped when he approached, the pitying glances from colleagues who must have known or suspected the truth. Molly Small found him in the supply closet, methodically counting gauze packages with shaking hands. She closed the door behind her, her face etched with concern and guilt. Mr. Berger, she began, then stopped, wringing her hands. Clayton, I need to tell you something. Clayton continued counting, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. About my wife and Chris Rivers? Molly's sharp intake of breath confirmed what he already knew. You know, I overheard Katie telling her boyfriend. He finally looked up, meeting Molly's troubled gaze. How long have you known? I've seen them together in Harbor District. My sister lives there, Molly admitted, her words tumbling out in a rush. I didn't make the connection at first, but then Jenny mentioned the rumors about Rivers and a married woman. And I remembered seeing your wife's Mercedes outside his mansion multiple times. Jenny Bradford appeared in the doorway, her experienced nurse's intuition having led her to this conversation. I should have told you sooner, Clayton. We all should have. Clayton set down the gauze packages. Tell me everything you know about Rivers. Jenny entered the supply closet, closing the door firmly behind her. He's not just any real estate developer. He's one of the most influential figures in the city, known for his aggressive business tactics and political connections. This is his third marriage. Well, sort of. His second marriage was brief and childless. His first wife, Cassandra Moon, died under mysterious circumstances years ago, leaving him with Melody and Spencer. Mysterious circumstances? Clayton prompted. Official report says she fell down the stairs after taking sleeping pills, Jenny explained. But there were rumors. Nothing could be proved, of course. Rivers has too many connections in this city. Clayton, Molly interjected, her voice low and urgent. Rivers has a reputation for destroying people who get in his way. If you're thinking of confronting him, be careful, Jenny finished. He's not someone you want as an enemy. The trauma alert sounded before Clayton could respond. The three of them moved automatically toward the emergency room, their conversation suspended but not forgotten. Throughout his shift, Clayton's mind worked overtime, processing this new information while his hands performed their familiar tasks. He noticed things he'd missed before, how Marina's new Mercedes matched the model he'd seen in the Rivers Development Company's parking lot, how Katie had suddenly started wearing designer clothes she claimed were outlet finds, how Tommy had grown increasingly withdrawn and troubled. During his break, Clayton used the hospital computer to research Chris Rivers. The developer's smiling face appeared in numerous charity event photos, often with political figures at his side. Articles praised his business acumen and philanthropy, but beneath the glossy surface, Clayton found hints of darker dealings, mysterious property acquisitions, allegations of pressure tactics, witnesses who suddenly changed their stories. A soft knock interrupted his research. Tommy stood in the doorway of the break room, his 14-year-old face bearing the weight of adult concerns. Dad, Tommy's voice quavered. Can we talk? Clayton closed the browser window. Of course, buddy. What's on your mind? Tommy glanced around the empty break room before entering, closing the door behind him. From his backpack, he pulled out a stack of folded papers. I've been trying to tell you, Tommy said, his voice barely above a whisper. But Mom says we're better off with Mr. Rivers. I don't believe her, Dad. I've been leaving you notes, but... Clayton's heart clenched as he read the first note. Dad, I'm sorry. I tried to tell Mom it was wrong, but she says we're better off with Mr. Rivers. I don't believe her. How long has this been going on, Tommy? 2 years, Tommy admitted, tears welling in his eyes. At first, Mom said Mr. Rivers was just helping her with investments. Then we started going to his house on Sundays. He has kids from his first marriage, Melody and Spencer. They're okay, I guess, but what, buddy? Something feels wrong about Mr. Rivers, Tommy continued. The way he talks about money like it's the only thing that matters. The way he looks at Mom like she's something he bought. And sometimes, when he thinks no one's watching, he gets this mean look in his eyes. Clayton pulled his son into a hug, feeling the boy's shoulders shake with suppressed sobs. Thank you for trying to tell me, Tommy. You did the right thing. Katie says I'm being stupid, Tommy mumbled into Clayton's scrubs. She loves all the expensive stuff Mr. Rivers buys her. But I don't care about that stuff, Dad. I just want our family back. Listen to me. Clayton pulled back, looking his son in the eye. Whatever happens next, I want you to know that none of this is your fault. You've been carrying this secret for too long. Before Tommy could respond, Clayton's pager went off. Another trauma coming in. Always another emergency. Another crisis to handle while his own life fell apart. Go home, buddy. Clayton squeezed his son's shoulder. We'll figure this out together. After Tommy left, Clayton sat in the break room, studying the stack of notes his son had tried to leave him over the past months. Each one was a cry for help he'd been too blind to see, too busy to notice. Jenny found him there an hour later, still staring at the notes. Clayton, there's something else you should know about Rivers. She sat across from him, her face grave. I've been doing some digging. Rivers isn't just interested in real estate anymore. He's been making moves in the healthcare sector, buying up properties near hospitals, trying to get access to patient records for market research. Something bigger is going on here. Clayton looked up sharply. Marina has access to hospital records through her billing work. Exactly, Jenny nodded. And Rivers has a history of using people close to him for his business ventures. Usually, they don't realize they're doing anything wrong until it's too late. Clayton carefully folded Tommy's notes and put them in his pocket. I need you to help me with something, Jenny. You too, Molly, he added as the younger nurse entered the break room. But I have to warn you. It could be dangerous. Both women exchanged glances before nodding. They'd seen too much, kept quiet too long. It was time to act. Marina discovered the notes in Tommy's backpack while doing laundry. A mother's innocent invasion of privacy that would shatter their carefully constructed facade. Her manicured fingers trembled as she read each one. Her son's desperate attempts to warn his father about their Sunday betrayals. Tommy! Her voice echoed through the house. Come here right now. Tommy descended the stairs slowly, his face pale but determined. He'd known this moment would come eventually. What is this? Marina thrust the notes at him. Have you lost your mind? Do you have any idea what you could have ruined? Mom, it's wrong. Tommy's voice was quiet but firm. Dad deserves to know the truth. Katie appeared in the doorway, attracted by their mother's uncharacteristic display of anger. What's going on? Marina handed the notes to Katie, whose eyes widened as she read them. You little snitch. Katie screamed, launching herself at her brother. You're going to ruin everything. It's already ruined. Tommy shouted back, dodging his sister's attack. Dad loves us, and you're both treating him like garbage. Your father, Marina's voice cut through their argument with practiced authority, chose his path long ago. He's more married to that hospital than he ever was to me or this family. That's not true. Tommy protested. He works so hard for us. He works hard to avoid us, Katie corrected, her voice bitter. When's the last time he came to one of my dance recitals? Or your soccer games? Because he's saving lives. Tommy's voice cracked with emotion. While you're playing princess on Mr. Rivers' yacht, Dad's helping people who really need him. Marina's calm mask slipped for a moment, revealing something harder beneath. It doesn't matter anymore. I've already filed for divorce. Your father will know everything soon enough. What? Tommy stumbled back as if physically struck. Chris has agreed to take care of us all, Marina continued, her voice softening. He'll even handle your father's hospital debts. It's for the best, Tommy. We can finally be a real family. We already are a real family. Tommy's eyes filled with tears. Or we were, before you started lying to Dad. Oh, grow up, Katie rolled her eyes. Mr. Rivers can give us everything Dad never could. A real house, not this tiny box. Private school, summer homes, connections to people who actually matter. Money isn't everything, Tommy insisted. Says the kid who's never had any, Katie shot back. I'm sick of being the poor kid at school, of making excuses for why we can't go on fancy vacations or buy designer clothes. Mr. Rivers appreciates us. He shows up. He pays attention. He's using you. Tommy's voice dropped to a whisper. Both of you. Can't you see that? Marina's hand connected with Tommy's cheek before she could stop herself. The sound of the slap echoed through the suddenly silent house. Mom! Tommy stared at her in shock, his hand pressed against his reddening cheek. I'm sorry. Marina stepped back, horrified at her loss of control. Tommy, I'm sorry. But you have to understand, this isn't just about money. Chris, he sees me. Really sees me. When was the last time your father looked at me as anything other than a convenience? Someone to handle the house and kids while he plays hero at the hospital? Dad sees you, Tommy insisted. He sees all of us. You're the ones who stopped looking back. What none of them knew was that Clayton stood just outside the front door, having come home early again. His hand rested on the doorknob as he listened to his family fall apart, to the truth of their betrayal laid bare in their own words. He had recordings of Katie's earlier conversation with Rich, Tommy's saved notes, and now, Marina's admission about the divorce and Rivers' involvement. But he didn't confront them. Instead, He turned away, his mind already forming plans. They thought he was invisible, too caught up in his work to notice their deception. They'd used his dedication to others as a shield for their betrayal, never realizing that the same qualities they dismissed, his patience, his attention to detail, his ability to remain calm in a crisis, would become their undoing. Inside, the argument continued, unaware of Clayton's presence and departure. "When will you tell Dad?" Tommy asked, his voice small. Marina smoothed her designer blouse, regaining her composure. "The lawyers are preparing the papers. Chris has everything arranged. Your father will be served next week. Does he know about the house yet?" Katie asked eagerly. "The one Mr. Rivers is buying for us?" "Not yet, sweetheart. But soon we'll all be living where we belong. No more pretending to be satisfied with this modest lifestyle." Tommy backed away from them both, shaking his head. "You're wrong about Dad. Both of you. And you're wrong about Mr. Rivers, too." "Tommy," Marina's voice held a warning. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Sometimes adults make decisions that children don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Tommy's voice cracked. "You're choosing money over love. And Katie's so blinded by expensive gifts that she can't see what a real father looks like." Katie lunged at her brother again. "Shut up. Just shut up. You're going to ruin everything with your stupid loyalty to Dad." "Enough." Marina stepped between them. "Katie, go to your room." "Tommy," she sighed. "I know this is difficult, but it's happening whether you like it or not. Your father will understand eventually. He'll have to." Tommy turned away, his shoulders slumped in defeat. As he climbed the stairs, he could hear his mother on the phone, her voice shifting to the honeyed tones she used when talking to Chris Rivers. "Yes, darling, everything's fine. Just a small family disagreement." "No, Clayton hasn't suspected anything." "Yes, next Sunday works perfectly." "The yacht? That sounds wonderful." In his room, Tommy pulled out his phone, staring at the last text he'd sent his father. No response. He didn't know that Clayton had heard everything, that the invisible man had finally seen the truth in all its ugly clarity. Meanwhile, Katie sat in her room, scrolling through photos on her phone. Images of the Rivers mansion, the yacht, the lifestyle she'd grown to see as her birthright. She paused on a picture of her father at her 8th grade graduation, his tired smile evidence of another double shift, work to pay for her private school tuition. For a moment, doubt crept in, but she pushed it aside. They deserved better. She deserved better. Marina ended her call with Chris, her hand lingering on the expensive phone he'd given her. Everything was falling into place. Soon, she'd no longer have to live this double life, pretending to be satisfied with Clayton's modest ambitions. Soon, she'd have everything she'd ever wanted. None of them realized that their carefully constructed world was about to unravel. They didn't know about the recordings Clayton had made, the evidence he'd gathered, or his discovery about Rivers' connection to his first wife's death. They had no idea that their Sunday secrets were about to explode in their faces. The invisible man had seen everything, and now he had proof. Clayton sat across from Maureen Thornton in a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria, watching as she examined the stack of evidence he'd gathered. Her hands trembled slightly as she read through Tommy's notes, her expression hardening with each page. "My sister Cassandra tried to warn me about Chris," Maureen said, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. "The week before she died, she called me, saying she discovered something terrible. She was going to tell me everything that Sunday." She looked up at Clayton, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "She never made it to Sunday. The official report said she fell down the stairs," Clayton prompted gently. After taking sleeping pills, Maureen's laugh was bitter. Cassandra was terrified of medication. She wouldn't even take aspirin for a headache. But somehow we're supposed to believe she took sleeping pills and decided to go for a walk. Eugene Kuhn, the private investigator who'd been building a case against Rivers for years, spread out his own files on the table. Rivers is careful. He knows how to make things look legitimate. The sleeping pills in Cassandra's system, the accidental fall. It was all too perfect. Just like Marina's lucky investments, Clayton added, pulling out bank statements he'd found in their home office. Every major purchase in the last 2 years, the Mercedes, the jewelry, Katie's private school tuition. All explained away as smart investment returns? Kuhn nodded, his experienced eyes scanning the documents. Rivers didn't just steal your wife, Clayton. He's been running a sophisticated real estate fraud scheme. Marina's been unknowingly helping him launder money through these so-called investments. But here's the kicker, Kuhn continued, pulling out a weathered file. We found evidence that Cassandra discovered Rivers' illegal activities right before her accidental death. She was an accountant, worked for one of Rivers' subsidiary companies. She noticed discrepancies in the books, started asking questions, just like she said in her last call, Maureen whispered. She found something in the company records. A soft knock interrupted their discussion. Tommy stood in the doorway, his young face serious. Dad, can I tell you something important? Clayton gestured his son over. What is it, buddy? I overheard Mom on the phone with Mr. Rivers last night, Tommy said, his voice low. They were talking about hospital records, patient information. Mr. Rivers said something about using Mom's access to find vulnerable properties. Kuhn straightened in his chair. That fits the pattern. Rivers targets properties owned by people with medical debt, uses insider information to pressure them into selling below market value. But he needs access to confidential patient records. Clayton finished, the pieces falling into place. And Marina's billing work at the hospital would give him that access. Not just billing records, Tommy added. Mom said Mr. Rivers wants her to get a list of terminal patients from the oncology ward. Something about motivated sellers. The adults exchanged horrified glances. Using terminal patients' desperation to force property sales. It was a new low, even for Rivers. We need to move fast, Kuhn decided, before Marina gets access to those records. Once Rivers has that information, vulnerable patients will start receiving offers they can't refuse. How long have you been building this case? Clayton asked the investigator. 3 years, Kuhn replied. Ever since an elderly client of mine lost her home to one of Rivers' development projects. She died a month later in a nursing home, while Rivers built luxury condos on her property. Maureen gripped Clayton's arm. We have to stop him. For Cassandra, for all the others he's hurt. We will, Clayton assured her. But we need to be smart about this. Rivers has connections, political protection. We need ironclad evidence. I might be able to help with that, Tommy offered hesitantly. I've been recording things. Mom's phone calls, conversations at Mr. Rivers' house. I started doing it after I found out about his first wife. Clayton stared at his son in surprise. You've been gathering evidence? Tommy nodded. I knew something was wrong. The way Mr. Rivers talked about business, about money. It was like people didn't matter. And the way he looked at Mom. Not like he loved her, but like she was something he owned. Smart kid, Kuhn commented, examining Tommy's phone. These recordings could be crucial, especially the conversations about accessing patient records. But we need more, Maureen insisted. Something that ties Rivers directly to Cassandra's death. Clayton thought for a moment. Marina keeps a locked box in her closet. I've seen her adding papers to it, always after her Sunday visits to Rivers' house. We need those documents, Kuhn said. And we need to move before Rivers realizes we're onto him. This Sunday, Clayton decided. They'll all be at Rivers' mansion for their regular family gathering. I can get the documents then. It's dangerous, Maureen warned. If Rivers suspects anything, he won't, Clayton assured her. He thinks I'm too caught up in my work to notice anything. The invisible man, remember? Tommy touched his father's hand. I want to help. Clayton started to protest, but Kuhn interrupted. Actually, having Tommy there could be useful. Rivers and Marina are used to seeing him around. He can help create a distraction if needed. I don't like putting my son at risk, Clayton frowned. Dad, Tommy's voice was firm. I've been living with this risk for 2 years, watching Mom and Katie fall deeper under Mr. Rivers' control. Let me help make it right. Clayton studied his son's determined face, seeing strength he hadn't noticed before. Okay, but you follow our plan exactly. No improvising. They spent the next hour outlining their strategy. Kuhn would contact his FBI connections, having them ready to move. Maureen would gather additional witnesses, former employees and victims of Rivers' schemes who'd been too afraid to come forward before. As they finalized the details, Clayton couldn't help but notice how Tommy had matured through this ordeal. His 14-year-old son had shown more courage and integrity than many adults. One more thing, Kuhn added as they prepared to leave. Once this starts, we can't stop. Rivers will fight back with everything he has. Are you ready for that? Clayton thought about his broken family, about Cassandra's unsolved death, about all the vulnerable patients Rivers planned to exploit. Yes, he said firmly. It's time the invisible man became visible. The Sunday gathering at Rivers' mansion proceeded as usual, with one crucial difference. Clayton Berger stood at the front door, Eugene Kuhn and Maureen Thornton at his side, and FBI agents positioned strategically around the property. Marina opened the door, her smile freezing as she registered her husband's presence. Clayton? What are you doing here? Hello, Marina. Clayton's voice was calm. I think it's time we all had a family discussion. Before Marina could respond, Chris Rivers appeared behind her, his practiced charm firmly in place. Clayton, what an unexpected pleasure. Though I must say, showing up unannounced with strangers is rather unorthodox. No more unorthodox than sleeping with another man's wife, Clayton replied evenly. Or using her to launder money through fake investments. Rivers' smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened. Those are serious accusations. I hope you have evidence to support such claims. Oh, we have evidence. Kuhn stepped forward, displaying his investigator's credentials. About the fraud, about the patient record scheme, and about Cassandra Moon's death. At the mention of his first wife's name, Rivers' composure cracked slightly. His gaze darted to Maureen, recognition flickering across his face. Cassandra's sister, Rivers said softly. It's been years. Not long enough. Maureen's voice shook with suppressed rage. Did you think we'd never discover the truth? By now, others had gathered in the foyer. Katie stood frozen on the stairs, her face pale. Melody and Spencer hung back, confusion and fear evident in their expressions. Tommy moved quietly to stand beside his father. Mom, Katie's voice was small. What's going on? Marina stepped forward, her designer outfit suddenly seeming like a costume. Clayton, whatever you think you know. I know everything, Clayton interrupted. About the Sunday visits, the secret family, the money laundering. I know about Rivers' plans to use your hospital access to target vulnerable patients. That's not. Marina started, but Rivers cut her off. I think you should all leave. His voice held a hint of steel. Before you say something you'll regret. Like what? Clayton challenged. Like how you murdered your first wife when she discovered your illegal activities. The words hung in the air like smoke. Melody gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Spencer grabbed his sister's arm, his young face confused and frightened. Dad. Melody's voice trembled. What is he talking about? Nothing, sweetheart, Rivers assured her. Just baseless accusations from a jealous husband. Tell that to the FBI agents outside, Kuhn interjected. They're very interested in your business practices, particularly your habit of targeting medical patients for property acquisition. Marina's composure finally cracked. Chris? What is he talking about? What patients? It's complicated, darling. Rivers reached for her hand, but Marina stepped back. The investment advice you gave me, she said slowly. The properties you had me research through the hospital billing system. All legitimate business opportunities, Rivers insisted. Then you won't mind explaining them to the FBI. Clayton produced a stack of documents. Marina's secret box had yielded more evidence than they'd hoped. Along with these records of your property acquisitions over the past 5 years, Rivers' charm vanished entirely. You really want to play this game, Berger? I own half this city. One phone call, and your nursing career is over. Better than living a lie, Clayton replied. Better than watching my family destroy themselves for your blood money. Blood money? Katie's voice cracked. What does he mean, Mr. Rivers? He means, Tommy spoke up, that Mr. Rivers kills people who get in his way. Like his first wife. Like he was planning to do to Dad if he discovered the truth. That's ridiculous, Rivers scoffed. But his eyes darted toward the door, calculating escape routes. Is it? Maureen stepped forward, producing a file. This is Cassandra's autopsy report. The one that mysteriously vanished from official records. The one showing the bruises on her arms, the defensive wounds on her hands. Melody swayed on her feet. Mom, she didn't fall? No, honey. Maureen's voice softened. She didn't fall. She found evidence of your father's crimes, just like Clayton did. And Rivers couldn't let her expose him. You're lying, Rivers snarled. But Spencer cut him off. No, she's not. The 12-year-old's voice was surprisingly steady. I saw you that night. I saw you follow Mom upstairs. I heard her scream. The room fell silent. Rivers stared at his son in shock. Spencer. I was too scared to tell anyone, Spencer continued, tears rolling down his face. But I'm not scared anymore. FBI agents began entering the mansion, their presence adding weight to the revelations. Rivers looked around wildly, like a cornered animal. This is all a misunderstanding. He tried one last time. Marina, tell them. But Marina had moved away from him, her face ashen as she realized the full extent of her deception. The patient list you wanted. You were going to use them to force sick people out of their homes? Business is business, Rivers snapped. Don't pretend you didn't enjoy the benefits. Cuff him, the FBI lead agent ordered. As they led Rivers away, he called back to Marina. Remember what I promised you. All of this can go away. The only thing going away is you, Clayton said quietly. The invisible man saw everything, Rivers. Everything. 1 year had passed since the day the truth exploded in Rivers' mansion. The courtroom had been packed as Marina testified against her former lover, her testimony helping to ensure both justice for Cassandra Moon and leniency for herself. She was an unwitting accomplice, Clayton had told the judge during Marina's sentencing hearing. She made terrible choices, but she didn't know about the murders, the fraud. Our children need their mother, he'd added, demonstrating the compassion that had driven him to become a nurse. But they also need to see accountability. The judge had agreed, sentencing Marina to probation and community service while Rivers faced multiple life sentences for fraud, money laundering, and murder. Now, Clayton sat on the deck of his modest but comfortable new home, watching Tommy practice soccer in the backyard. The house wasn't a mansion, but it was theirs, bought with honest work and clean money. Katie emerged from the house, home from her first semester at community college. The past year had changed her profoundly. Gone were the designer clothes and superior attitude, replaced by a thoughtful young woman who'd learned hard lessons about the true meaning of wealth. Dad? She said softly, sitting beside him. Can we talk? Clayton turned to his daughter, seeing vulnerability in her face that reminded him of when she was small. Of course. I've been thinking about changing my major. Katie twisted her hands in her lap. Maybe nursing school? I saw how you helped people, even after everything Mom and I did. That's real strength. Clayton felt his throat tighten with emotion. You'd be a wonderful nurse, Katie. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked. I was horrible to you. Cruel. I couldn't see what was right in front of me. That working those double shifts, helping people, that was worth more than all of Rivers' money. We all learn and grow, Clayton assured her. The important thing is that you understood before it was too late. Tommy jogged up to the deck, grinning. Mom's here. Marina approached cautiously. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple business attire from her new job at a small medical billing company. The probation officer had helped her find work where she could use her skills without access to sensitive information. The family therapy session is at 4, she reminded them. These sessions had become their lifeline, helping them rebuild trust and understanding. I'll drive, Tommy offered. I need the practice hours anyway. As they gathered their things, Katie touched her mother's arm. I told Dad about nursing school. Marina's eyes filled with tears. Following in your father's footsteps? That's wonderful, sweetheart. Speaking of footsteps, Clayton added, how's the volunteer work at the homeless shelter? Humbling, Marina admitted. These people have so little, but they're rich in ways I never understood before. Ways I forgot about when I was chasing Rivers' lifestyle. They piled into Clayton's car, not a Mercedes, but reliable transportation that didn't come with strings attached. As Tommy carefully navigated the streets, Clayton reflected on their journey. The invisible man had become visible, not through wealth or power, but through unwavering integrity and compassion. His family had learned that true wealth couldn't be measured in yachts and mansions, but in the strength of character and the ability to help others. The double shifts at the hospital continued, but now his family understood. It wasn't about the money, it was about making a difference in people's lives. Katie's college fund came from honest work, not laundered money. Tommy's soccer equipment was bought with overtime pay, not criminal proceeds. "Dad," Katie said softly from the back seat, "thank you for not giving up on us." Clayton caught her eye in the rearview mirror. "That's what family does. We help each other find our way back when we're lost." Marina wiped away a tear. "We found our way back because you showed us the path. Your quiet strength, your dedication to helping others. That's the real treasure we almost threw away." As they arrived at the therapy office, Clayton watched his family walk in together, wounded but healing, humbled but wiser. The mansion and yacht had been illusions, but the love of a father who would work double shifts for his family, that was real wealth. And in the end, that made all the difference. Epilogue. 5 years later. The visiting room at Oakwood Federal Correctional Institution buzzed with quiet conversations as Melody Rivers signed in at the security desk. At 21, she carried herself with a composure that belied her age, though her fingers trembled slightly as she wrote her name in the visitor's log. "He's in room 3 today," the guard informed her, his tone gentler than usual. Everyone knew the story, how Chris Rivers' daughter had testified against him, helping to ensure his conviction for the murder of her mother, Cassandra Moon. Melody found her father sitting at the metal table, orange jumpsuit stark against his grayed hair. 5 years of imprisonment had stripped away his polished veneer, leaving behind a bitter shell of the man who once commanded respect through fear and money. "I didn't expect you today," Chris said, not meeting her eyes. "Spencer's graduation is next week," Melody replied. "I thought you should know." "Graduating early," Chris mused. "Always was a smart kid. He's giving the valedictorian speech," Melody continued. "He's planning to talk about Mom. The truth about what happened to her." Chris's fingers twitched on the table. "The past is past. No need to dredge it up." "That's where you're wrong," Melody's voice hardened. "Spencer and I spent years thinking Mom's death was an accident. We deserve to speak our truth." "And what truth is that?" Chris demanded. "That your father is serving 3 life sentences while Marina Boyer walks free?" "Marina cooperated with the investigation," Melody reminded him. "She didn't know about Mom's murder, or about the other victims of your schemes." "She knew enough," Chris spat. "She enjoyed the money, the lifestyle. Now she plays martyr, doing her community service, acting like she's reformed." "She is reformed," Melody stood up. "Unlike you, she accepted responsibility for her actions. That's why she only served 6 months of house arrest. That's why she's rebuilding her life. And her family." "Family?" Chris scoffed. "You mean Clayton Berger? The nurse who destroyed everything I built?" "Clayton showed us what real integrity looks like." Melody gathered her purse. "That's why Maureen and I asked him to help Spencer move into his dorm at medical school. He's going to be a doctor, Dad. He wants to help people, not exploit them." Leaving her father to his bitterness, Melody drove to Memorial Hospital, where a very different scene was unfolding. In the hospital's main auditorium, Clayton Berger stood at a podium, addressing a room full of nursing students. 5 years ago, he told them, this hospital discovered a plot to exploit patient records for real estate fraud. Today, we're implementing new privacy protocols that I helped develop. Because being a nurse isn't just about medical care. It's about protecting our patients in every way possible. In the audience, Katie Berger sat between her mother and brother, taking notes. Now in her final year of nursing school, she'd inherited her father's dedication to patient care. Her clinical rotations had shown her a world where success was measured not in dollars, but in lives touched and pain eased. After the lecture, Marina approached her ex-husband. Her designer clothes and perfect manicures were long gone, replaced by practical business attire suitable for her position at a small medical billing company. The court-mandated community service at a homeless shelter had turned into a genuine commitment. She now served on their board of directors. That was inspiring, she told Clayton. The new protocols should prevent anyone from misusing patient information the way Chris wanted me to. Clayton nodded. How's the shelter's fundraising going? We're close to our goal, Marina smiled. Tommy's social media campaign really helped. Who knew my son would become a digital marketing expert? Tommy, now 19, had turned his experience documenting Rivers' crimes into a career helping nonprofits tell their stories. His videos about medical debt and housing insecurity had gone viral, leading to policy changes at several major hospitals. Speaking of Tommy, Marina continued, have you seen his latest project? He's working with Maureen Thornton's advocacy group, helping families of white-collar crime victims. Maureen mentioned it, Clayton replied. She and Melody are doing amazing work, turning Rivers Development's seized assets into affordable housing. The FBI's investigation had uncovered over $50 million in fraudulent property dealings. Under Maureen and Melody's management, the Rivers estate was being used to provide homes for families displaced by medical bankruptcies. Dad, Katie called out, waving from where she stood with Jenny Bradford, now the hospital's chief nursing officer. Jenny's offering me a position in the ER after graduation. Clayton watched his daughter chatting excitedly with his old friend and ally. Jenny had been instrumental in implementing the new privacy protocols, using her experience with the Rivers case to protect future patients. Molly Small, no longer the uncertain new hire, joined them. She'd recently completed her nurse practitioner certification, specializing in trauma care. The lessons learned from the Rivers affair had shaped her approach to patient advocacy. Your daughter's going to be an amazing nurse, Molly told Clayton. She has your compassion and my stubbornness, Clayton smiled. She insisted on paying her own way through school. Wouldn't touch a penny of the restitution money. The court had ordered Chris Rivers to pay substantial restitution to his victims, including the Berger family. But Katie had donated her share to the homeless shelter where her mother volunteered, saying she needed to earn her success honestly. Later that evening, the extended family gathered at Clayton's home, still modest, but filled with warmth and laughter. Spencer and Melody Rivers were there, having found a second family in the people who helped expose their father's crimes. Uncle Clayton, Spencer called him now, the title a testament to how their relationships had evolved. I've been accepted for a residency here at Memorial. Following in your footsteps, sort of. Different footsteps, same path, Clayton replied, proud of the young man's transformation from a privileged child to a dedicated medical student. Tommy arrived with his girlfriend, Lucy Martinez, Dr. Sarah Martinez's daughter from scene one of their story. They'd met when Tommy was filming a documentary about emergency room workers, and their shared experience with family upheaval had created a strong bond. Mom's bringing dessert, Tommy announced. She's been baking again. Marina's baking hobby, developed during her house arrest, had become a form of therapy. Each successfully completed recipe marked another step in her journey of redemption. As everyone settled around the dining room table, Clayton observed the unlikely family they'd become. Melody and Spencer, who'd lost one parent to murder and another to justice, had found new role models in Clayton and Maureen. Katie and Tommy had grown into advocates for the vulnerable, their childhood trauma transformed into purposeful action. Marina caught his eye across the table, her expression conveying years of regret and gratitude. She'd lost the materialistic dreams that led her astray, but gained something more valuable, genuine respect, earned through hard work and honest change. The conversation turned to Spencer's upcoming graduation. He'd chosen Clayton to hood him at the medical school ceremony, an honor traditionally reserved for parents. Chris Rivers would watch the live stream from prison, another reminder of the consequences of his choices. I visited Dad today, Melody mentioned quietly. He hasn't changed. Some people can't, Marina responded, her voice heavy with understanding. They're too invested in their version of reality. But we did, Katie pointed out. We all changed. Clayton squeezed his daughter's hand, remembering the angry teenager who'd once dismissed him as a loser. Now she wore scrubs with pride, embracing the calling she'd once mocked. The doorbell rang, Maureen arriving with case files for Tommy's latest documentary. She'd become a fierce advocate for corporate crime victims, using her sister's story to push for stronger oversight of business practices. The FBI's investigating another developer, she announced. They're using our case as a template. Rivers' schemes created a blueprint for identifying similar fraud patterns. The legacy of their ordeal had extended beyond their family, creating ripples of change throughout the community. The hospital's new privacy protocols were being adopted nationwide. Marina's story was used in ethics training for medical billing staff. Tommy's documentaries had sparked congressional hearings on medical debt exploitation. Even in prison, Rivers had inadvertently contributed to positive change. His seized assets provided housing for hundreds of families. His documented schemes helped authorities prevent similar frauds. His conviction encouraged other victims to come forward. Sometimes, Clayton addressed the gathering. The worst moments in our lives create the best opportunities for growth. 5 years ago, we were strangers, adversaries, or barely a family at all. Look at us now. They raised their glasses, Marina's containing sparkling cider, maintaining her sobriety, in a toast to transformation. The invisible man had not only become visible, he'd become a beacon, showing others the path from darkness to light. Later, as the family dispersed, Clayton stood in his doorway watching Tommy help Marina carry her baking dishes to her modest car. Katie and Jenny discussed ER protocols while Melody and Spencer shared stories about their mother with Maureen. Each person had found their way forward, turning pain into purpose. Marina paused before leaving. "I saw a Mercedes S-Class today," she said softly, "just like my old one. For the first time, I felt nothing. No longing, no regret." Clayton nodded, understanding the significance of her comment. "The invisible man sees you too, Marina. The real you, not the illusion you tried to be." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for showing our children what real strength looks like, what real wealth means." As the last car pulled away, Clayton returned to his living room. Tommy's latest documentary played silently on the TV, interviews with families helped by the Rivers Estate reorganization. On the wall, Katie's nursing school graduation photo hung beside Spencer's medical school acceptance letter. Marina's 1-year sobriety chip sat in a small frame next to Melody's law school application. The double shifts at the hospital continued, but now they held new meaning. Each hour worked contributed not just to saving lives, but to showing others the value of honest labor and genuine service. The invisible man had become a symbol of quiet integrity, his story a testament to the power of perseverance over pretense. In the end, true wealth wasn't measured in yachts or mansions, but in lives transformed and lessons learned. And that made all the difference in the world. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.